Hello again, this is Lomi, and this week I'm going to show you how to make a fast and easy fabric mermaid tail as part of my first big Monster High restoration and customization project. It took me a long time to decide what to do with this doll, but at the end of May I realized mermaid was the perfect inspiration. I made this on the last day of May, so I barely managed to fit it in. To make this tail, I'm using a stretchy material out of the dancewear section of my local fabric store. It's got tiny metallic dots printed on top of stretchy black nylon, and when you look at it up close, the dots kind of give the impression of scales. I felt like that made it perfect for this project. So I cut out the pattern, making sure the pieces stretch horizontally, and I pin them with right sides together. I'll use my sewing machine with a stretch needle to sew all the way down the side, backstitching at the top where the seam begins and also at the bottom. Since this is a knit fabric, there's no need to finish either end for this project, just the sides. I sew both sides closed and then trim the seam allowance down from 1/4 of an inch to about 1/8 of an inch, which will reduce seam bulkiness. The only reason we cut it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance is because there's no way most sewing machines could do an allowance smaller than that on stretchy fabric. With both sides sewn shut and the top and bottom still open, I turn the tail right side out and put it aside. Next, I'll sew the fin. Just like the top part of the tail, these two pieces have the right sides of the fabric together. I'll sew down the side and across the shaped bottom, then back up the other side. But I have to stop early to rescue my fabric when my machine tries to eat it. That's a good indicator I need to use a fresh needle, because this needle is no longer sharp enough to get through the fabric easily. Unfortunately, it's the last stretch needle I have right now, so I'll have to hope that doesn't happen again. I trim the corners at the pointy tips of the fin to make it turn better, then turn the fin right side out. I use tweezers to get the points turned as best I can. Then we'll add lines of top stitching on the fin. I do the very left and right edges of the fin first, which helps it lay nicely as I do the rest. Then I make sure the bottom edge of the fin is laying well and sew more lines from the top down to the bottom. They're not perfectly parallel, but fan out toward the bottom edge, creating rays in the tail fin with a contrasting color of thread. I try to do a few lines on each side. Whoops, thread escaped. Then there's one line straight down the middle too. I trim all the threads, then we'll put the top and bottom together. The open pointy end of the tail slides onto the flat top of the fin. It should be just wide enough for the fin to fit inside. I'll line it up and pin it, and probably add a few more pins just to be sure. To sew the pieces together, I changed my machine to a zigzag stitch and then reduced the stitch length almost to 0. This will create a wide stitched border, almost like embroidery. Then I sew along the edge of the blue top part, connecting it to the silver fin. It doesn't look great on the back side, but that's fine, because we'll flip it over and do the same thing on that side. This creates a good, thick border that looks good on both the front and the back. Trim the last threads, and that's it. Let's try it on a doll. It slips up over the doll's legs and can even be worn over a swimsuit. The doll's legs will move together, but the knees and hips still bend. And best of all, it's removable, so your doll can go back to dry land at any time. And that's it for this quick episode. Next I'll be making a mermaid top and a few accessories, and then this Laguna restoration should be complete. Thanks for joining me again, and thank you so much to everyone supporting me on Patreon. You help make everything I do possible, and for that I'm infinitely grateful. Catch you later!